Hi, my name is Harry, welcome to Cine 101. This is my first video for the channel and I'm going to be doing a top 10 video on my top 10 favourite superhero films. Naturally you won't agree with me on all of these choices, but hopefully I'll be able to explain it to you so that you'll understand why I've chosen them. Naturally there could be some spoilers in this, but I will try to avoid them for those of you who haven't seen the films. Let's get into it. Kicking off the list is Thor. I love the film Thor and I think it's a very well made film, especially from an adaptation from the comic book. I love the way Asgard is portrayed and the way all the characters are portrayed. Especially like the way Tom Hiddleston portrays Loki, because he's such a great actor and he just brings out what Loki is meant to. I love the Frost Giants in this. I think they were so well done, the detail on them is incredible, and the way they fit the storyline to them with the Tesseract, which again ties into Avengers Assemble, is just perfect for the film. I love the way they tie Earth into it as well, the way they take the main battle to Earth, so it's sort of some sort of later. I especially like the character Jane Foster, who's a citizen of planet Earth, and the way that her and Thor have some sort of bond that makes it... Don't really know how to explain it, but you'll know what I mean if you've seen the film. I think she's a great character for... no, that's what I'm saying. I love the way Natalie Portman portrays her, and I think she's perfect for the role. The reason Thor isn't higher up the list is because I just think it doesn't have that edge that some of the other films have. In this spot it's Spider-Man. Now the Spider-Man films, and the noughties I believe they call them, feature Tobey Maguire, and this is I have a special bond with these films because they were sort of the first superhero films I ever watched, and Tobey Maguire was the first Spider-Man I ever knew, so it's really sort of special for me. These films are great because of the way that Spider-Man is sort of portrayed very well as some sort of just lame kid who doesn't get on with anyone, but then he sort of comes out with shell as Spider-Man. And although Andrew Garfield is also a good Spider-Man, I think Tobey Maguire is just that bit better for the role because of the way he portrays the humorous side of Spider-Man, the way he acts more like a shy kid when he is Spider-Man. Andrew Garfield is much more out there, he's not so quite as shy as Tobey Maguire. I think that shyness is what makes Tobey Maguire such a good Spider-Man. Filling the number 8 spot is the 1978 film Superman. This film is really iconic, so it was the first big superhero film ever to be put onto the big screen. I love the superhero Superman because he's such a powerful and stereotypical superhero that everyone knows him and everyone sort of wants to be him in one way or another. Especially like the villain in this film, Lex Luthor, who's Superman's arch enemy. But I like him because he doesn't have any superpowers, but he still manages to overthrow Superman with his high intelligence and his things that he creates. I love the way Lois Lane is portrayed in this film because she's portrayed as a sort of curious and powerful woman, and I like that because it shows that the non-superhero still have a hold over the superhero. Overall, I just think this is a great film and I think it was well deserved into the space in the number 8 spot. Filling the number 7 spot this time is Kick-Ass. Now I love the film Kick-Ass, but when I first saw it back in 2010, I just did not like the film at all. I thought it was stupid and pointless and just overly violent. But when I watched it again about 6 months ago, a long time after it was first released, I really enjoyed the film and I had to go as soon as the sequel came out to go and watch that, which I don't know why. I don't know if it's because I grew up and I just sort of understood it, but I enjoyed it much more 2 years after I first saw it. Now this film is very relatable because it just shows a normal, geeky kid who really wants to be a superhero and does so. And I especially like the character Hit Girl, Mindy, whose alter ego is Hit Girl. And I think she's great because it's sort of an ironic thing because she's just a little 12-year-old girl with this big-time sort of superhero that no one really knows about her, so Kick-Ass gets all the fame, but she doesn't. And Nicolas Cage in this film portrays the character of Mindy's father excellent. And his alter ego, Big Daddy, is just... I just find it so funny the way he's Batman, and he looks like Batman, and he doesn't in the thing. And I think Christopher Mintz-Plasse, I believe is how you pronounce his name, is great in this film. Even though he's not the main villain in this film, he isn't, however, in the sequel. He just portrays his character so well. Okay, just missing out on the top 5 at number 6 is X-Men First Class. Some people might wonder why I've chosen this X-Men film and none of the others. And it's because this really sets the baseline for all of the X-Men films, and I really like that about it. It's still probably my favourite X-Men film for many other reasons. There's no general reason, I just personally really like the film, and I do like James McAvoy portraying the younger version of Professor X, and I think he's really good at that. I also like the way sort of you see how Mystique originally started as Professor X's friends and how he came into a wheelchair. Although it does sort of go against the story of X-Men The Last Stand, where you see Professor X as Patrick Stewart being able to walk without a wheelchair. But other than that, I still think it's an excellent film and it's well deserving of its place at the number 6 spot. Right at the bottom of the top 5 now, it's the 1989 film Batman. Now this is the first ever Batman film really to show the dark side of the masked vigilante. And it was the first one ever to not have the character Robin in it, although he is introduced later in the quadrilogy. I do like the way the Joker was sort of introduced into this film, although it's a lot different to the other ways the Joker was introduced, and a lot different again to Heath Ledger's version of the Joker. So Jack Nicholson does play it perfectly with his insanity in the role. I think this brings a new side entirely to what Batman was before, and that's why I really think it deserves its place at the top 5 spot. Next up is The Dark Knight Rises, and this is another Batman film, and it was the last film in the Christopher Nolan trilogy. It's also my second favourite Batman film after The Dark Knight. The reason I think this film is amazing is because the actors, the screenplay, the music, which Hans Zimmer does an excellent job on. It's unbelievable how good he is at the music, and the story, and the way Bane is completely different in this to any other film and any other comic book Bane is in, which I think the way he is done in this is absolutely brilliant, and I really like Anne Hathaway's Catwoman. And I was thinking it is a great end to an excellent trilogy, and that's why it is very deserving of its place in the number 4 spot. At number 3 is Iron Man 3, and I really like this Iron Man film, and I think it is the best of the 3 Iron Man films. Mainly because the first 2 films spend a lot of time setting the scene at the beginning of the film, and I'm not a big fan of that, also I still really enjoyed the films. And Iron Man 3 gets in with it a lot faster, although it does spend a long time setting the scene. I think it's done a lot better setting the scene than the last 2 films. I also liked how we see a new side to Tony Stark when he's sort of down and he's really begging to come back to the top, because we see his house get blown up, and sorry for any spoilers in this, we see his house get blown up and he sort of almost loses everything, including Pepper. But at the end of it, he sort of brings it all back in a more human way than we usually see Tony Stark do things. I just like how Pepper is a bigger part of this than she is in the first 2 films, and I think that's a really good aspect to the film that makes it that bit better again. Just like Ben Kingsley's Mandarin and the way he sort of portrays the Mandarin character, and that's why Iron Man 3 is in the number 3 spot. At number 2 is Avengers Assemble, and this is actually my favourite superhero film of all time. But I am able to accept that there are films, well, a film that is better, in my opinion, than Avengers Assemble. And that's why Avengers Assemble only gets the number 2 spot. The reason this is at the number 2 spot, the reason I enjoy it so much, is because I think the action sequences are amazing. I think Nick Fury in it is amazing, although he is in other Marvel films, he is a big character in this, and that's great. I also like the way S.H.I.E.L.D. is in this, and the way that they really perfectly bring all the heroes together in a way that isn't quite captured in the comics. And Phil Coulson is a big part in this film. Phil Coulson is one of my favourite characters in the entire Marvel universe, and that's why I'm also looking forward to the new series coming up, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., which I'm sure will be absolutely great. I also like how Hawkeye is brought into this, and how Natasha Romanoff, aka Black Widow, is into this a lot more than she was in Iron Man 2. And that's why Avengers Assemble is one of my favourite films of all time and is in the number 2 spot. And finally, in the number 1 spot, which a lot of you will have guessed what this is going to be, is Christopher Nolan's The Dark Knight. Now this, I think, is an absolute masterpiece of a film. It is absolutely amazing. Obviously by far the best Batman film, or any superhero film that ever has been, although I still prefer Avengers Assemble, but that's because of my own reasons. The Dark Knight sort of takes after Batman Begins, and begins with Batman sort of finally everyone sort of saying that they don't want Batman, but there's still some people sort of realising that Batman maybe isn't that bad a guy after all. And I think that's why this is a really great film. But also the Joker and the way Heath Ledger portrays him is amazing. He's by far the best Joker there's ever been in any comic book or Batman film or video game ever. And he's just perfect for the role, and his mannerisms and everything, and the storyline that is brought into it. And I also like the way that it starts. It doesn't start with Batman, it starts with the Joker. And a lot of films don't do this, they always start with the protagonist, but this film doesn't do that. It starts with the Joker, and it's just the bank bust with the Joker's comrades. And we see the evil side of the Joker as soon as the film starts, because he tells all of his team members to kill off another team member so that they personally will get a bigger cut. But what they don't know is the Joker is originally planning to kill all of them, and that shows the really dark side to the Joker. Also, we know that the Joker, we don't know who he is, which I think is a really great thing. Whereas in, for example, the 1989 film Batman, we know who the Joker is, everyone knows who he is. But in this film, he has no identity and there's no way of knowing who the Joker is, and I think that is absolutely a really great part of the film. And Harvey Dent, who is Two-Face. In a lot of films, Harvey Dent is just straight in with it, he is the bad guy. But in this film, he starts off as sort of the hero, if you like, and everyone likes him more than they actually do Batman. And no one ever finds out until, I believe, Dark Knight Rises, when Bane leads out Mr. Gordon. Harvey Dent, if you like, is the hero, and people like him more than Batman at the beginning of this film, until the Dark Knight Rises, where Bane reads out Commissioner Gordon's letter about Harvey Dent. But I like the way he then turns into Two-Face, because he gets angry and his fiancée dies, and that makes him angry. He leaves everything down to chance, and he sort of turns him evil by the end of the film. And I think that's really great to see another side to all of the characters, the way they do it in the Christopher Nolan trilogy, and that is why The Dark Knight is, in my opinion, the best Superman film, and why it is at the #1 spot on this list. It's a Superman film.
Yeah. Thank you for watching this today's Cinema 101. Thank you to Harry for making such a brilliant episode. Like in the last video, comment your opinion on the video, comment your top 10 personally. I think it was a very accurate judgment that The Dark Knight is by far the best superhero film, and the Joker is brilliant, Heath Ledger is brilliant, and it was such a good note to go out on. You may need to readjust the camera a bit.
Sorry.
Am I in?
No.
We'll see you next time on Cinema 101.
Bye.